Aloha, namaste. Welcome to another Krishna book reading. My name is Janapati Das. Let me offer my respects to you. Thank you for joining again. If you are here for the first time, welcome. Please take the opportunity to like, subscribe, and share the content in my Facebook page for the Krishna book readings. We are going to get right into our hearing and chanting of Krishna's names. So welcome. Please join along. I will leave a little break for you guys to sing back the mantras. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Bowl, sharp and sweet. So we are going to continue on with our reading of the introduction of the Gopi dance, the dance of Krishna with the gopis. And we are just continuing on. I started to make a video of this and then it got cut off, so I decided to make the whole video again. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. In the Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, the Lord also states that one who is engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness is very dear to him. A preacher has to face many difficulties in his struggle to preach pure Krishna consciousness. Sometimes he has to suffer bodily injuries, and sometimes he has to meet death also. All this is taken as a great austerity on behalf of Krishna. Krishna therefore has said that such a preacher is very, very dear to him. If Krishna's enemies can expect salvation simply by concentrating their mind on him, then what to speak of persons who are so dear to Krishna? The conclusion should be that the salvation of those who are engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness in the world is guaranteed in all circumstances. But such preachers never care for salvation, because factually one who is engaged in Krishna consciousness, devotional service, has already achieved salvation. So that's a really important point there being stressed, because oftentimes there's a lot of, in religious paths, there's a lot in salvation, about being saved. Save me from this, save me from this horrible situation. But the devotee of Krishna is beyond that. He's beyond his salvation. He's not overly concerned with whether he's saved or not. He's concerned with whether he's being pleasing to Krishna or not. That's really what it comes down to. So oftentimes, you hear Christians will say, are you saved? Has Jesus saved you today? And we just say it's not really so important to be saved. It's important to be pleasing to Krishna. That's our being pleasing to Jesus, for that matter. Are you being pleasing to Jesus? Does that really matter? It's not about us, that's the thing. It's about Krishna. It's about Krishna. That's why our service, we think the devotee always is thinking about the best for what is the best for Krishna? What is the best for my Guru Dev, who is the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Shukadev Goswami therefore assured King Parikshit that he should always rest assured that one attracted by Krishna attains liberation from material bondage, because Krishna is the transcendental master of all mystic power. So it's already guaranteed in there. It's not a matter of like, well, am I going to get salvation? I'll do these things if I get saved. It's just, I do these things. If I get saved, I don't get saved. That's why Lord Chaitanya made the prayer. You can keep me, you can hold me tight with your embrace, or crush me with your embrace, or kick me away, or whatever you do, whatever, I will always be your you will always be my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. That's the unconditional part, because Krishna loves us unconditionally, so we should also love him unconditionally as well, which is not really the matter of love in this world. The very conditional matter of love in this world. In other words, we say that I love you, and it just doesn't. It's usually, but if your partner is cheating on you or doesn't love you back, it's not that you're like, oh well, screw you. It's like, so. To achieve real meaning of love, where you love someone unconditionally, regardless of how they feel about you, that is the meaning of true love. When all the gopis assembled, as described before Krishna, he began to speak to them, welcoming them as well as discouraging them by word jugglery. So Krishna has to have a little fun with this first. Krishna is a supreme speaker. He is the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita. He can speak on the highest elevated subjects of philosophy, politics, economics, everything. And he also spoke before the gopis, who were so dear to him. He wanted to enchant them by word jugglery, and so he began to speak as follows. "Oh, ladies of Vrindavan," Krishna said, "you are very fortunate and you are very dear to me. I am very pleased that you have come here and I hope everything is well in Vrindavan. Now please order me. What can I do for you? What is the purpose of coming here in this dead of night? Kindly take your seats and let me know what I can do for you." The gopis had come to Krishna to enjoy his company, to dance with him, embrace him, and kiss him. And when Krishna began to receive them very officially, showing all kinds of etiquette, they were surprised. He was treating them as ordinary society women. Therefore, they began to smile among themselves, and they very eagerly listened to Krishna talk in that way. When he saw that they were smiling at him, he said, "My dear friends, you must know now it is the dead of night, and the forest is very dangerous. At this time, all the ferocious jungle animals, the tigers, bears, jackals, and wolves, are prowling in the forest. Therefore, it is very dangerous for you. You cannot select a secure place now. Everywhere you go, you will find that all these animals are loitering to find their prey. I think, therefore, that you are taking a great risk in coming here in the dead of night. Please turn back immediately without delay." When he saw that they continued to smile, he said, "I very much appreciate your bodily features. All of you have nice thin waists." All the gopis there were exquisitely beautiful. They are described by the word sumadhyama. The standard of beauty of a woman is said to be sumadhyama, when the middle portion of the body is slender. Krishna wanted to impress on them that they were not old enough to take care of themselves. Actually, they required protection. It was not very wise for them to come in the dead of night to Krishna. Krishna also indicated that he was young and that they were young girls. It does not look very well for young girls and boys to remain together in the dead of night. After hearing this advice, the gopis did not seem very happy. Therefore, Krishna began to stress the point in a different way. "My dear friends, I can understand that you have left your homes without the permission of your guardians. Therefore, I think your mothers, your fathers, your elderly brothers, or even your sons, and what to speak of your husbands, must be very anxious to find you. As long as you are here, they must be searched in different places, and their minds must be very agitated. They must be searching in different places, and their minds must be very agitated. So don't tarry. Please go back and make them peaceful." When the gopis appeared to be a little bit disturbed and angry from the free advice of Krishna, they diverted their attention to looking at the beauty of the forest. At that time, the whole forest was illuminated by the bright shining of the moon, and the air was blowing very silently over the blooming flowers, and the green leaves of the trees were moving in the breeze. Krishna took the opportunity of their looking at the forest to advise them. "I think you have come out to see the beautiful Vrindavan forest on this night," he said, "but you must now be satisfied, so return to your homes without delay. I understand that you are all very chaste women, so now that you have seen the beautiful atmosphere of the Vrindavan forest, please return home and engage in the faithful service of your respective husbands. Some of you must have babies by this time, although you are very young. You must have left your small babies at home, and they must be crying. Please immediately go back home and just to feed them with your breast milk. I can also understand that you have very great affection for me, and out of that transcendental affection you have come here, hearing my playing on the flute. Your feelings of love and your affection for me are very appropriate, because I am the supreme personality of Godhead. All living creatures are my parts and parcels, and naturally they are affectionate to me. So this affection for me is very much welcome, and I congratulate you for this. Now you can go back to your homes. Another thing I must explain to you is that for a chaste woman, service to the husband without duplicity is the best religious principle. A woman should not be only faithful and chaste to her husband, but affectionate to the friends of her husband, obedient to the father and mother of the husband, and affectionate to the younger brothers of the husband. And most importantly, the women must take care of the children. So we've been hearing about Krishna's flute and the reaction of all living entities to Krishna's flute. I was actually reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is another wonderful scripture about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And I want to read something that actually I came across that had to do with Krishna's flute, which I'm just going to go ahead and add in here. Let me open it up. And it talks about, just the transcendental nature of the flute of Krishna and how enchanting it is to everything. So this is from the Brahma Samhita, quoted directly within the Chaitanya Charitamrita purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta. Then Gayatri, mother of the Vedas, having been manifested by the divine sound of Sri Krishna's flute, entered the lotus mouth of Brahma, the self-born, through his 8 ear holes. So Lord Brahma has 4 heads, right? So, when he was meditating upon, when he came out of the lotus flower, out of the navel of Sri Vishnu, and he woke up in the darkness of an unmanifested universe. He was the only being there. He didn't know where he was, actually, even though he was supposed to be the creator. So he went back down in this stem, right? Walked through the stem, and it just went on and on and on, and just couldn't find an ending for it. So he came back, and he thought, I'll sit in meditation until I hear something, until I receive some information. And the first thing he heard was Sri Krishna's flute. And so that's why it said he received the lotus-born Brahma received the Gayatri mantra, which had sprung from the song of Sri Krishna's flute. In this way, he attained twice-born status, having been initiated by the supreme primal preceptor Godhead himself. In other words, Sri Krishna was actually the spiritual master of Lord Brahma, and he initiated him through this playing of his flute, through the Gayatri mantra. In this way, so enlightened by the recollection of the Gayatri, which embodies the 3 Vedas, Brahma became acquainted with the expanse of the ocean of truth. Then he worshipped Sri Krishna, the essence of all the Vedas, with a hymn. So Lord Brahma received all the information of just spiritual life, and received, as a disciple will receive from his spiritual master, but also with the instructions to create the universe. So he received all the information and all the ability to create the universe. It's very wonderful. I wanted to share that because it's so nice. So back to our story. In this way, Krishna explained the duty of a woman. He also stressed the point of serving the husband, even if he is not a very good character, or even if he is not very rich or fortunate, or even if he is old or invalid on account of continued diseases. Whether a husband's condition, a woman should not divorce her husband if she actually desires to be elevated to the higher planetary systems after leaving this body. So it's kind of an odd, it's not very fashionable in this day and age to, because men have been sort of neutered by the women, feminists, to, because they want to be able to show that women are important too, and they can do those things. And a lot of cases that's fine. But, in case of that happening, they've made a situation of problems worse, basically not giving any capability for the male to do what the male naturally does, which is lead and protect and, take care and nurture. And so you have a lot of situations where there are broken households because of the Women's Rights Act. It made men not very important. It's not really accountable for men to be the protectors and the breadwinners or anything like that. So therefore the men just run around like animals and just impregnate all kinds of women and don't stay around to take care of their kids. So this is unfortunately mostly done because of this situation. But Krishna here is explaining the duty of a wife, and husbands and wives both have duties in a marriage to keep the marriage together. Besides that, it is considered abominable in society if a woman is unfaithful and goes searching for another man. Such habits will deter a woman from being elevated to the heavenly planets, and the results of such habits are very degrading. A married woman should not search for a paramour, for this is not sanctioned by the Vedic principles of life. If you think that you are very much attached to me and if you want my association, I advise you not to personally try to enjoy me. It is better for you to go home, simply talk about me, think of me, and by this process of constantly remembering me and enchanting my names, you will surely be elevated to the spiritual platform. There is no need to stand near me. Please go back home. So Krishna, of course, is making this point, you have this situation with the Smiths, Jada Pinkett Smith cheating on her husband and just like not feeling sorry about it at all. And just, so you see what happens. And then you have this male figure who has no real, is not a real man. He can't protect but it's anyway, that's a whole nother thing. So the instruction given herein by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the gopis was not at all sarcastic. Such instructions should be taken very seriously by all honest women. The chastity of women is specifically stressed herein by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, this principle should be followed by any serious woman who wants to be elevated to the higher status of life. Krishna is the center of all affection for all living creatures. When this affection is developed for Krishna, then one surpasses and transcends all Vedic injunctions. This was possible for the gopis because they saw Krishna face to face. This is not possible for any woman in the conditioned state. Unfortunately, by imitating the behavior of Krishna with the gopis, sometimes a rascal takes the position of Krishna, following the philosophy of monism or oneness, and he very irresponsibly takes advantage of this Rasa Leela to entice many innocent women and mislead them in the name of spiritual realization. As a warning, Lord Krishna has herein hinted that it was possible for the gopis is not possible for ordinary women. Although a woman can be elevated by advanced Krishna consciousness, she should not be enticed by an impostor who says that he is Krishna. One should concentrate her devotional activities in chanting and meditating upon Krishna as is advised herein. One should not follow the men called Sahija, the so-called devotees who take everything very lightly. So my spiritual teacher in Bhaktivedanta has brought this up, these people in India sometimes and other places as well, who like to materially imitate situations like the Rasa dance, where they dress up like women, or somebody, they bring in young girls, or they all pretend like they're girls, and everybody has sex, and whether it's sex with young girls or sex with other men who are dressed like women, they try to pretend like this is what is going on. But what we've already read about in this situation is this is not a material situation. This is actually a transcendental situation, a spiritual relationship that is going on between the gopis and Krishna. So when people try to imitate that in any way materially, it's abominable and demoniac. When Krishna spoke in such a discouraging way to the gopis, they became very sad, for they thought that their desire to enjoy rasa dance with Krishna would be frustrated. Thus they became full of anxiety. Out of great sadness, the gopis began to breathe very heavily. Instead of looking at Krishna face to face, they bowed their heads and looked to the ground, and they began to draw various types of curved line on the ground with their toes. Just like young girls are drawing with their toe and kind of being sad. They were shedding heavy tears, and their cosmetic decorations were being washed from their faces. The water from their eyes mixed with the kumkuma of their breast and fell to the ground. They could not say anything to Krishna, but simply stood there silently. By their silence, they expressed that their hearts were grievously wounded. The gopis were not ordinary women. In essence, they were on the equal level with Krishna. They are his eternal associates. As it is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, they are expansions of the pleasure potency of Krishna, and as his potency, they are non-different from him. Although they were depressed by the words of Krishna, they did not like to use harsh words against him. Yet they wanted to rebuke Krishna for his unkind words, and therefore they began to speak in faltering voices. They did not like to use harsh words against Krishna because he was their dearmost, their heart and soul. The gopis had only Krishna within their hearts. They were not completely surrendered and dedicated souls. Naturally, when they heard such unkind words, they tried to reply, but an attempt Torrents of tears fell from their eyes. Finally, they managed to speak. Krishna, they said, you are very cruel. You should not talk like that. We are full-fledged, surrendered souls. Please accept us and don't talk in that cruel way. Of course, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you can do whatever you like, but it is not worthy of your position to treat us in such a cruel way. We have come to you, leaving everything behind, just to take shelter of your lotus feet. We know that you are completely independent and can do whatever you like, but we request you, don't reject us. We are your devotees. You should accept us as Lord Narayan accepts his devotees. There are many devotees of Lord Narayan who worship him for salvation, and he awards them salvation. Similarly, how can you reject us when we have no other shelter than your lotus feet? Oh dear Krishna, they continued, you are the supreme instructor. There is no doubt about it. Your instructions to the women to be faithful to their husbands and to be merciful to their children, to take care of homely affairs and to be obedient to the elder members of the family are surely just according to the tenets of Shastras. But we know also that all these instructions of the Shastras may be observed perfectly by keeping oneself under the protection of your lotus feet. So there they hit the nail on the head right there. That basically all rules and regulations are so that we remember Krishna and that we don't forget Krishna. Our husbands, friends, family members, and children are all dear and pleasing to us only because of your presence, for you are the super soul of all living creatures. Without your presence, one is worthless. So it's a very wonderful, wonderful prayer because it's true. You know, everything that you have in this world is not really of your owning, but is because of your karmic reaction, temporarily in your possession, and you can utilize all those things, whether they're your family, whether they're your money or your time or your possessions or your body or anything can be used in the service of Krishna. But without Krishna, it's like, as my spiritual master would say, without Krishna, you may have a lot of assets and whatnot, but those are all zeros. And with Krishna, it's like putting the one at the front. So, but without Krishna, it's just a bunch of zeros. So they were saying here, you know, our family, everything is only valuable and worthy to us because of your presence, because you're with us. When you leave the body immediately dies, and according to the injunction of Shastra, a dead body must immediately be thrown in a river or burned. Therefore, ultimately, you are the dearmost personality in this world. By placing our faith and love in your personality, there is no chance of our being bereft of husband, friends, sons, or daughters. If a woman accepts you as a supreme husband, then she will never be bereft of her husband, as in the bodily concept of life. If we accept you as our ultimate husband, then there is no question of being separated, divorced, or widowed. You are the eternal husband, eternal son, eternal friend, and eternal master, and one who enters into a relationship with you is eternally happy. That sums it up right there. We are already in a relationship with Krishna, but you know, in most relationships, of course, you know, you're either with them or you turn your back to them. So in this case, we've turned our back to Krishna. We're still in a relationship with Krishna. Krishna's still there, but we've decided to turn our back to Krishna. So therefore we don't see Krishna. We don't feel his presence. And that's just all those zeros. Krishna is the one, right? Since you are the teacher of all religious principles, your lotus feet first have to be worshipped. Accordingly, the Shastras state, Acharya Upasana, the worship of your lotus feet, is the first principles. Besides that, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, you are the only enjoyer, you are the only proprietor, and you are the only friend. As such, we have come to you, leaving aside all our so-called friends, society, and love, and now you have become our enjoyer. Let us be everlastingly enjoyed by you. Be our proprietor, for that is your natural claim, and be our supreme friend, for you are naturally so. Let us thus embrace you as a supreme beloved. I want to put that on my wall. That's so beautiful. That's the prayer we should have as a devotee. We're here, you are enjoying us. Let us offer ourselves to you for your enjoyment, not for ours. And that when we were reading about earlier with the salvation concept, that Christians don't maybe sometimes always really, they want to love God, but they don't really know what that means, because they're really more interested in their own salvation, or going to heaven where they can enjoy with their families, and God is somewhere around in a gaseous presence floating around somewhere. That's what they have. They want the kingdom, but they don't really want the king. So here, this idea is that we want to serve you. We want to give you, wherever you put us, wherever we're going to be in this life, or next, or in the spiritual world, or in the material world, we want to be your servant. Then the gopis told the lotus-eyed Krishna, please do not discourage our long-cherished desires to have you as our husband. Any intelligent man who cares for his own self-interest reposes all his loving spirit in you. Persons who are simply misled by the external energy, who want to be satisfied by false concepts, try to enjoy themselves apart from you. The so-called husband, friend, son, daughter, or father, or mother are all simply sources of material misery. Without Krishna, you can't, they're considered, as Bhaktivedanta Swami calls them, fallible soldiers. It doesn't mean we can't have a loving relationship, but we should have a loving relationship with everyone around us in relation to our service to Krishna. We have a loving wife. We help our loving wife, or our loving husband to go together to serve our spiritual master, to serve Krishna. We raise our kids. We have kids, so we can teach them about Krishna and how to try to devote your life to Krishna in service of Krishna. We have items and things as householders that we can use in the service of Krishna to help ourselves and help others remember Krishna. That's all what it's about. Everything else, if you're doing it all for yourself, it's all a bunch of zeros. There is no one in front of it. It's just a waste of time. Although the father and mother are expected to protect the children, there are many children who are suffering for want of food and shelter. There are many good physicians, but when a patient dies, no physician can revive him. There are means of protection, but when one is doomed, none of the protective measures can help. And without your protection, the so-called sources of protection simply become sources of continued distress. So that's really applicable about everything. We have these band-aid ways of trying to protect people in the world, try to stop war, try to stop racism, stop these people from doing this or this people from doing that. We try to stop pollution, or we try to make it so we can live happily, but then we create so much disturbance and pollution and hellish situations in this world, because it's all done in the wrong concept. If we had dovetailed our relationship with Krishna, and then we do these things to try to live together in service of Krishna as one world, then we would have a very, maybe not a heavenly planet, but because this is the material world, but you would have a much more wonderful society. And that's how ancient kingdoms were. They were taught the science, and the kings and the system was set up in a way that the spiritual science, the spiritual information and transcendental knowledge was decimated to everyone, and everyone was engaged in the service of the Lord and in the service of their spiritual masters. And they had etiquette, and this day and age of Kali Yuga, those things have been thrown out the window. But we're very fortunate, by the grace of Lord Chaitanya. He has given us the process of hearing and chanting of Krishna's names as the prime benediction for humanity at large. And I'm going to go ahead and get into it for that. So we'll continue the story next time. And just always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, and always try to take a time every day to hear and chant Krishna's names. Thank you very much. Hari Bol. All right. Take off my glasses. Nitago, Nitago, Haribo, Haribo, Nitago, Nitago, Haribo, Haribo. That's where you chant. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Bol. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Goranga, 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 Haribo. Goranga, 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 Haribo. Okay, that's all for today. We'll pick up from next time. All right, thank you very much. Haribo.